Alright, welcome to round 4 of the FRL Division 1 Championship. Here we are in Le Castellet, France, for what is shaping up to be another exciting race, albeit with a little bit of a smaller roster. As you can see, we only have 16 drivers, which actually makes me question why we have a full qualifying, because only one driver is going to be eliminated here in Q1. Looks like we're missing a few phases here. We're missing one Haas driver. Uh, what are the other ones missing? I think we're actually missing an entire team. Yes, we are missing both Williams and one of the Red Bulls as well. Like, no, we're not. It's really hard to tell because all of them are different shades of blue that are so similar. It's hard to tell the difference. Ah, it's a Ferrari that's missing. Well, that's unfortunate that we're missing a few, but I think it's still going to be a good race regardless. If you notice my voice sounds a little bit different, that's because, I unfortunately contracted COVID, and at the moment I feel about as good as Charles Leclerc's race result at this track. Speaking of this track, I'll take you on a little bit of a guide of it. The circuit Paul Ricard has a total 15 corners to make your way around. And honestly, in terms of difficulty, I would say this is one of the most merciful tracks. As you can see, there's just runoff everywhere. So let's say you spin out or something, chances of hitting a wall are honestly quite low. But this is a very fast and yet winding track. It's important to have a decently balanced setup, though some would favor more straight line speed, of course, with the three massive straights being, of course, the main straight, the straight immediately after turn 7, both of those being the DRS zones, actually, and as well as the straight after turn 9. Now, there is turn 10, of course, but, well, that turn is essentially flat out all the way up until turn 11, and then you have those winding final few turns before you get back to that main straight. Now, one thing that I know some drivers have struggled with around here is actually grip and traction, especially when it comes to tire wear. So good tire management is important to maintain a good result. Otherwise, near the end, if your tires are struggling too much, you may be facing a spin out. And another thing that is going to prove to be difficult will be track limits. Because this track is essentially all runoff, many drivers are less concerned about risking it. Well, pretty much. And so they're able to push much harder than they normally would. And unfortunately, it's a little bit too much for their own good sometimes, and it causes invalidation. But already on the top of the board at 131.899 for Taylor Boss. Joining me in the commentary box today is going to be Nakins. So Nakins, what can you make of this track?
Um, it's one of the longest tracks, has some of the longest straightaways that I've seen at a track, and some of the corners are really challenging, especially like the long left-handers coming out of the back straightaway. I'm gonna expect a lot of passes, a lot of spins coming through there, probably a lot of going wide, but when you go to this track, you never really know what to expect because you can have setups that range from having a lot of downforce for the corners or having less downforce for the very long straightaways. So it's always interesting to watch people battle here.
Indeed, at the moment, Wolver is topping the tables with 131.1. That is going to be a good time to carry on into the remaining sessions, but really, only one driver is going to be eliminated. So I'd say this. Let's say a driver somehow crashes here. All these drivers could just put in one lap. It could be the slowest lap of all time. But if they put in a lap and one driver crashes and doesn't, then everybody makes it. Well, except for that one that crashes, obviously, but well, I mean, if he did find a way to crash out and DNF here, I'm sorry, but that is just... Like, I don't know how you can pull that off. Like I said, there's just runoff for such long distances. Really, the only way you crash out is you crash into another driver, which, I mean, let's be honest, I think we'd rather all avoid from happening. And I think all these drivers would rather avoid that as well. But going wheel to wheel, like you said, it happens quite often around here. And I have a feeling, especially through this turn that Wonder Toad's making his way around, things are going to get a little interesting to say the least.
Oh crap, my Wi-Fi.
At the moment, Zimmerman is making his way through a flying lap, goes really deep, nearly invalidates, but stays just within the white lines that keep him on the track limits. Really pushing the edges here, and that's going to allow him to gain a little bit more time. As for that corner, I think Zip maybe could have attacked it just a little bit earlier. Still a very good entrance into that corner. Now it's a matter of this corner up ahead, although it's not much of a corner. Like I said before, you can go flat out through here with very little effort. Now through here, you don't need to brake just yet. You can just let off the gas, then ride the brake, then get back on the power immediately under here. But it can be this corner, which can be a little bit tricky. Zip takes a wide line there instead of a more inner line, but it's certainly allowed him to carry much more momentum through. Now, once again, yeah, you want to go really deep on there, nearly cutting off the track there. And Zip manages that line very well, and it's going to be rewarded with a solid lap, goes across, and manages to go 7th overall.
As I'm on board with Wonder Toast here. He's on a pretty good lap so far, but I think he's going to start up a new lap right here, or he's going to come into the pits. Can't quite tell.
Indeed, it was.
But
It's been a bit of a rough start with a 133 flat almost, and I imagine he's going to be looking forward to improving.
yeah, I think you're right about that. Seems like he's trying. I think he's coming into the pits. I can't quite tell. Oh, he's letting that guy back.
No, he's
Oh,
staying
no,
out.
he's not. He's going to go on a flying lap.
I don't know if that's the greatest idea. Typically, with the amount of ERS you burn over a single lap, doing multiple push laps in a row, that second lap is always going to be weaker, but it's definitely made a much better job of saving up ERS. He still is a little over 50%, but still, I would usually like to have a little more in the tank before I would set up lap, but I think Winter Toast has the pace to improve.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Wonder Toast, great Division 2 driver. He's having a chance to race the Aston Martin this week for Div 1. So I'm really wanting to see what he can produce today.
You never know, we have AMS and ADS, AMS and ADS, no, just AMS ADS. That name is a little bit of a mouthful, but he's making his way through. Envy as well is going on a lap.
AMS on a pretty lap right here. I think I saw that he got a purple sector one, although I don't know if it's glitched or not.
I mean, considering the state of this game, I can very well believe that it was a glitch. But I do think AMS actually does have the potential to set purple sectors. He has shown some good pace, but I guess we'll find out exactly how much pace he's got around here as he's about to cross the line. He manages to go
Yeah.
5th overall. That was indeed a solid lap for him.
Yeah, that was. What else can we look at? We can look at Envy's lap. There we go. Envy, he's coming around these final turns. Let's see what his lap's gonna be.
Envy's had
A little
good
slower
pace.
than
Unsurprised.
a little slower than you're kidding. A little slower than AMS's lap out of the final corner. It looks like there, but he goes 8th overall, right behind his teammate Ando.
Indeed, a solid time, though I think it's going to be looking to improve. He is still leading the championship, if I'm correct, however, and I imagine he's going to be looking forward to continuing that momentum. He's had a great start to the season, but of course, at this point, once this race is done, we're only a quarter of the way through. Actually, I'm very much going to be
you're
looking
right.
forward to next week. As we're going to be starting round 5 in the second quarter of the season. And while the way we arrange the calendar is, we kind of divided it into quarters. The start of each quarter is a sprint. And so, well, it's a new quarter in the next race. And the sprint is going to be held in Miami.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting about how the schedule works. Schedule works. How that works. That is a pretty good system though. And Sketchy goes fastest, eighth overall, or not fastest, but he goes faster.
Indeed. I did help in designing the schedule, and I just decided, let's make this as simple as we possibly can. And I think it worked out pretty well. I also didn't want to make an extremely long calendar, and so I thought, well, we want a decent size, but we also don't want it to be the entire year of the calendar, because that would be a little bit too much for one season, I think. So I think reducing it down to 16 races was good, but in the next few seasons, we are planning at least 2 more. We are planning to cover every single track in the game, including Portimao. If it hasn't arrived already, it will be. As well as China, which will be on the way. We'll be including that as well. Whenever it shows up, that is.
Hopefully the rumors about them DLC tracks come out, but I don't think that's going to happen. Henny goes 12th overall.
Indeed. I doubt he's too pleased about that lap. He's definitely going to look forward to improving and finding some more time. He probably just let out a very loud F-bomb after that.
And Dub invalidates his lap coming into the first chicane section there.
Oh, indeed.
Has to let
I don't
the
blame
Alpine
him.
ride.
It's so important to take a really aggressive line through there, and unlike most tracks on the calendar, you really want to ride the curves on here and really put your car as far out on the edges of the track that you can, because again, track is all runoff, you can get away with it. But you just get a little bit too eager about it, you take a little bit too much, and that's a lap invalidated. Honestly, lap invalidation and time penalties in the race, I think, are going to be the biggest opponent for these drivers, besides each other, of course.
Yeah, I think you're right about that, especially with the time penalty stuff. As you know, F122 video game, not the best when handing out penalties. In fact, during the practice race, there was quite a couple dumb penalties for people letting other people by.
Right now,
And
I'm on board with Wonder Toad. He is towing the track limit line like it is a tightrope. I'm honestly kind of impressed by how close he's come to invalidating, and yet hasn't. I'm sorry, I had to say this. This is actually quite impressive. It's shaping up to be a solid lap if he continues at this rate. And again, he's keeping right on the edges of the track limits. This is quite impressive. So I think he actually could have taken a bit of a deeper line there. Once again, going very V. Going across the line. This is going to be an improvement over his previous lap. Unfortunately, not by a whole lot. I think he may have been going a little bit too far for it, so good.
Well, it looks like currently we have 4 132s and everyone else is in the 131s.
Indeed,
The grids. So.
Indeed, but at Wolver's rate, he's probably going to be in the 130s. He's very close to that edge. But immediately behind him are the two Mercedes drivers, the Slayer and Sugi, who are doing quite well for themselves right now.
Yeah, you're right about that. And now FRL Prid, he's going out on a flying lap, but it looks like I think that's a Williams got in front of him a little. I don't know if that impeded his lap. Him and Welpding are two people that have not set a lap yet. Welpding currently on his out lap, so I'm waiting to see what these drivers can do with their laps in qualifying. As I'm just gonna guess that they've screwed up the lap earlier, had to come back in, and just waited until the end. So, and Dub coming around the final corner. He's currently 3/10 up on his lap. See what he gets here. It's not quite on the chopping block, but he goes 13th fastest. Oh, 14th because of Henny. Slayer has retired in the 6th, I think. Oh, and Wolfgang crashed.
And Sugi's out
As
as
long as
well.
Prid sets a lap here, I think he crashed. As long as Prid sets a lap here, he's going to get into Q2 along with everyone else, I think.
That's actually quite true. Well, I
Or
didn't. Uh,
maybe
you're,
it's two people.
I think both Mercedes drivers just retiring the pits, but Prick crosses the line, and he's going to set a solid lap nonetheless with 13th overall. But like he said, everybody's going to make it. Well, I didn't think someone was going to find a way to crash out here at France, but I mean, like they
Oh,
said in Jurassic Park, life will find a way. Um, I I imagine Wolfgang is slightly frustrated, to put it mildly, at that. And I have a feeling a few other people are just about as baffled as I am. I mean, again, it's difficult to crash out here, I would say, but I mean, there are certainly places to the right here. I mean, if you get oversteer somehow into the corner, oh yeah, the barriers are close enough to take yourself out here.
oh, someone else retired.
Indeed, I think most
And they
people are
did it
just
right in front
retiring
of
in the pits.
McLaren.
Oh, and that was Ghostly. He must have been retiring on track. I mean, then again, I would say that would almost warrant a penalty, but like I said, everybody is going to make it now because, well, they failed to set a lap. And so, really,
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be.
yeah, and you can see Wonder Toast just taking his time here. Actually, considering the amount of time remaining, I wouldn't be surprised if Wolfgang just crashed himself out of frustration because he couldn't set a lap without invalidating. That is a possibility, and I have seen that happen before. And to be fair, I mean, if he did invalidate, he wouldn't have made it anyways. So,
Yeah, you're right about that. Never heard that guy swear, nor have I ever heard his voice. So, that is going to wrap it up for Q1. Everyone makes it in except for Welpdang, I think.
indeed. So, out of the 16 drivers in this very intense session, only one has been eliminated. We'll be moving on to Q2, where we'll actually see more than one driver get eliminated. And this time it'll be 5, and then after that, nobody else. Of course, at the moment, we can guesstimate from the pace shown here. I have a bad feeling that both Alfa Romeos could be out in Q2. Wait, actually, another driver joined. Somebody else is going to be eliminated. I just noticed this.
Didn't even get in my car yet.
Oh, so that means Wonder Toast is going to be out.
I was wondering, huh?
He's P16 now.
Wait, so two cars are eliminated.
Indeed, I didn't notice another person
Oh, I
join.
didn't. I thought it was. Let me look. Oh my god, Wonder Toast and Welpdang are eliminated.
Yeah,
Wonder Toast was off 15th by about 3/10.
Yeah, someone else must have
Not
joined
really
that I
living up
didn't
to what I
notice.
said
I think
earlier.
it may have been, actually, I think it was Welpdang. Oh, well,
Wow.
Welpdang, yeah, because we didn't have any Williams drivers at first. And Welpdang joined, and, okay.
The moderator ruins it all for the admin. I'm just kidding. But that's going to wrap it up for Q1 as we go on to Q2 now.
Right now we're just waiting on Zip to load, but we'll be able to go into Q2. Oh, never mind, now we are waiting on everyone to load. And, I think Q2 is going to be a little bit more interesting. Like I said, more than one person will be eliminated, or in this case, 2 people. So, going in, like I said before, the Alfa Romeos, at least in Q1, were not necessarily showing the pace that I think they were hoping for. But I do think Zip and honestly even Prid have the potential to get into Q3. Prid has honestly shown some unexpected pace, and he can be very strong. Zip, of course, we've seen him time and time again that he can fight up at the top, but it's gonna be a bit of a rough start, I think, for everybody now once we're going out onto another session. Though I wouldn't be surprised if a couple of these drivers were maybe using a couple of older tires. Perhaps not. I think most of them are, or no, maybe all of them are on new tires. Either that or this graphic is wrong, which that's possible.
I mean, I would go on new tires at the start of the session if we have 2 sets, which I'm pretty sure they have.
Indeed, Q2 does offer 2 full sets, so it would make sense to use that
Yeah.
extra set. Or if they only use 1 set of tires in Q1, then they can just use that extra Q1 set.
Very true, but I think the only person that could do that is people that qualified in top 10. Or probably top 5, actually.
Okay, we have a few cars weaving on the straights to warm up their tires. Ando weaved up so hard that he went off the track for a moment and had to save his car from spinning out. On the bright side, I think Ando's tires are plenty warm now, but I imagine that gave him a good scare. But now he's gonna go right back to weaving his tires while Sketchy Bull is just pulling a Kimmy, being an absolute Iceman, not even worrying about tire warm-up. He's just sending it right now. Hey, one thing I do want to talk about is the silly season shenanigans that are going on, of course. If anyone hasn't heard already, Alonso's now going to Aston Martin. And I have to say, it's quite hilarious in the way that he did it because Oscar Piastri had a deal with Alpine where Alpine said, "We will get you a seat by July 31st. We will get you a seat somewhere in F1 by that time. If we cannot, you can look elsewhere." Alonso put out the announcement August 1st. So Piastri is now free to look wherever he wants.
Damn.
Which is why, even though Alpine said Piastri's coming with us, Piastri said no, and he's probably going to go to McLaren, and Danny Rick is going to go back to Alpine. Now, some might say, Alonso wouldn't be that petty. Oh, yes, he would. Alonso is a very petty person. And I'm not gonna. Yeah, he completely did there. I gotta say though, I honestly kind of like Alonso when he's petty.
And he hasn't validated his lap, although I don't know. Oh yeah, he was on a flying lap.
Yep, and he's just gonna take the
Taking
runoff. You have to get out of
runoff.
people's way. And actually,
So
the person who just passed him was Max Verstappen, who's on a flying lap. I think he's gonna be looking to impress here at his team's home circuit. At the moment, Slayer is impressing with the 131.35, a solid lap. Still not the fastest time we've seen yet. That was from Wolfer with 131.1 the previous session. But Max is coming up quick, and he might be able to beat it. Sugi certainly can. Look at that. The first driver to get into the 130s. That is impressive for the Mercedes driver. But the question I'm wondering is, can Max answer that challenge that Sugi just let out? We're about to find out as he crosses the line. Yes, he can.
ooh,
He goes first overall.
130.7. Oh my. So Mage, who are you thinking to look out for to sneak their way into Q3? Who do you think?
I mean, out of the drivers that haven't put in the time just yet, I certainly am expecting both Red Bulls to make it, as well as both Alpines. I do think Ghostly has the pace to pull that off. Dub, I think if he manages to put a strong enough lap together, he has the potential to get into Q3, though it's going to be a little bit easier said than done. He is reserving for Div 1 today. He's typically a Div 2 driver, but he can honestly pull out a good lap in an unexpected situation, as well as Fred. And I do think, also with Prid, he could pull it off. Honestly, any of these drivers could make it in the Q3. It's just a matter of the right place, right time, and just making sure you're not making any mistakes and just maximizing it. Sometimes you can even pull out a miracle lap and gain a few tenths here or there.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Dub, certainly great Div 2 driver. It's a really good pace in Div 2. It's going to be nice to see what he can do in Div 1 as a reserve. He's on his flying lap right now. Let's see what lap he gets here. It's not going to be fast because he's coming into the pits.
Well, that's certainly not going to be fast because, well, pit limiter is going to slow him down by a significant margin, but it's not going to make it on the timetables anyways. So technically, a driver has won from the pit lane before, that being Michael Schumacher, who, okay, while I admit that victory, it was very shady, but there was no rule against it. So
Gotta take advantage of the rules.
indeed, they made sure it was a rule after the fact, but he got that win. Yeah, he went into the pits to serve a penalty, so he served it on the final lap as he went into the pits. But because of the way where his pit box was, he crossed the line. So he technically was serving his penalty while crossing the line at the same time. Just, that man was a supervillain in like the best way possible.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. And the rule that he broke, obviously Michael Schumacher, very good driver. Some people would consider him the GOAT. But yeah, it's just cool to see new things happening all in F1. New rules being broken, new regulations, stuff like that.
Indeed.
Envy is coming around for his flying lap. Let's see what he gets here. A little slow. Oh, he's not going to be very good. Or might be in the 129s. No, 131.2, and he goes fourth overall.
That was a solid lap. Like you were saying, it's always fun to see the teams and the drivers figure out loopholes or other way arounds here and there, like Ferrari's 2019 engine, which, while very illegal, was also very clever. Because the way they did it, basically they limited the amount of power that the engine had, but the way that the system worked was that it would basically like tick every 5 seconds or something like that, and so it would just do a check. And then Ferrari basically created the engine to run at max power, but made sure to lower the power when that tick occurred, so it seemed like it was in line. And so they were getting more power, but not at the same time. It was honestly a very clever system until the FIA found out and they realized what they were doing was very illegal. Another interesting loophole was what Aston Martin actually just did at Hungary with their rear wing upgrade. Because honestly, the way that they did it was incredibly clever. They don't have the arrow on the outside of the wing, it's on the inside now. Which, when you think about it, just makes you wonder why nobody thought of that earlier.
Yeah, from what you make it seem like it's quite simple, but some teams just stick with it, stick with what's good. But obviously, all teams trying to innovate all the time.
Indeed, and many drivers are trying to innovate their way around this track. They're just trying to find that limit that they can push. Again, track limits are much more clear now because, well, the white line is the limit. There isn't any ridiculous, like, oh, here you can go completely out, but here you can't even go over the line, and that's a... No, it's just very simple, very clear cut. If your whole car is across the line, then your lap is invalidated, plain and simple.
And that's the way it should be. Although I don't quite agree with it during the race sometimes.
I mean, obviously it depends on the situation. Like, if you're going wheel to wheel with the car and you kind of have to go across the line a little bit, that's fair.
Mm-hmm. Once Taylor's coming around now, let's see his lap.
It's going to be a solid one. Yeah, he manages to go 8th overall.
21 seconds up on his previous lap as he goes 8th.
But the times are shaping up to be very close where he's at. He's only a little bit off of Sketchy Bull, but also not even a tenth ahead of Geo. And Hetty right now, he's barely within the top 10. I think if you want to make it to the top 10, you need to set a 131 time. But honestly, you're probably going to set a time closer to, well, what Geo has, 131.5 or lower. I imagine the times are going to shape up to be very close, but at the moment, Max is leading the session still. It's at 130.7.
Yeah, in my opinion, all the guys are probably, I'm gonna say top 6, top 7. Probably could just retire right now and still make it in. Although I am excited to see what Zipman's lap's gonna be, as well as you can tell by his lap, he kind of screwed up the last one. Oh, and the McLaren gets in the way. The McLaren got in the way of Zipman's flying lap. Who is that?
Oh,
That's a Wolfer
that was Wolfer
on an
indeed.
outlap.
The question I'm wondering is, where did he impede? Was it just coming out of the pits?
On the straightaway.
Oh.
He was staying right in the way of Zipman, and he didn't move, so Zipman just went to the back of him.
Oh, and
Zipman has retired
Oh,
on track.
that's unfortunate. Well, what's even going to be worse for Wolfer is the penalty that he's going to get. Now, the penalty that we typically deliver for impeding a lap in qualifying is pretty harsh. As Wolfer
Bro, I got
nearly
a
gets
call
in the way
again
of
doing it.
Yeah, indeed. I think Wolfer is going to suffer the same fate, meaning he's going to have to start at the back of the grid in the next race, most likely. Yeah, well, then again, the next race is going to be a sprint, so he definitely has much more room to make up for lost time, but still. Div 1, I mean, as you can see here from these times, the pace and the gap is so close, and all these drivers are going to fight tooth and nail for every single position. It's not like you and me, Atkins, in Div 3, where we're all trying to be respectful and just trying not to die, to put it simply. Uh, but these drivers, they go all out. They have no fear whatsoever. They go well over 100%. And if Wolver is going to start at the back of the grid, he's going to
For
have a
Henny.
tough time.
Well, the Div 1 starts most of the time, I'm going to say right here, most of the time aren't like the Div 3 starts that we have, or practice race starts.
That's true.
So, yeah, you're right about that. It is going to be a lot harder to make up positions, as it will probably be a lot cleaner into turn 1, I would hope.
Well, this is France, and, well, I said it before, I'll say it again. The track is near endless runoff. But turns 1 and 2 here, it can very easily catch up a car or two, or a few more. Hopefully that will be the case. But time is coming up close. At the moment, Zip will be eliminated, unable to improve. Dub and Prid will have only one shot to set a lap. They're both in Sector 3 now, getting ready to set a final time. And it's going to be close for the two.
As a Henny, he's in Sector 3 now with a Aston Martin behind him. Not sure if he's going to fuck up here and not see the Aston Martin. Doesn't seem like he does it. Ooh, just doesn't time. But yeah, let's see what Prid's and Dub's laps are going to be. I'm going to imagine Prid's going to be pretty fast here.
Indeed.
But I'm interested to see Dub's time.
Indeed. It'll be interesting to see how they put these two laps together. Well, one for each of them, it is. Pred is going to get underway, but he is close enough to behind to maybe get a little bit of a tow. Ando and Taylor are both getting ready to set a lap. Ando, actually, I don't know why he went out. He's not going to make it in time. Yeah, Ando won't be able to make it in time. He'll be eliminated. Taylor Boss does make it in time, though. And he'll be able to improve. Now, all he really needs to gain is 1/10. And he can make it in the Q3. That's literally all he needs. Just 1/10. Because that's how close the gap is getting right now. Dub and Prid are both flying through. Prid nearly exceeding track limits, but managing to stay on it. That was, again, very close, but impressive. Dub also chasing just behind, getting a nice little tow. Again, not by much, but every little bit helps in setting a good time around here. And just a few hundreds can make the biggest difference here. at the moment. Henny, he crossed the line, and he's barely ahead of Taylor Boss. Taylor Boss, all he needs is a few hundreds, and he can make it. He doesn't even need to get a 10. If he gets, say, 400s, he'd be able to make it. Well, preferably 5, but he can make it.
Might have been glitch right there, but I saw that Taylor got a purple sector too. Not sure if it's glitch though. I hope it's not glitch because that means he's going fast.
See, Taylor is going quite quick. He's now gaining nearly 2/10. Dub is getting ready to cross the line. Fred crosses the line, only goes 13th. Dub crosses the line, only goes 14th.
Right behind him.
Meanwhile,
What's Taylor gonna be?
He goes 5th overall. That is a
5th.
solid improvement. And all he gained there was a little under 2/10, but he jumped up that high because that's how close the gap is. Look at the gap from Taylor Boss all the way down to Henny. Barely 3/10 separating all of them.
Yeah, and that's gonna be a bad day for the Red Bull, which you said will get into Q3.
Indeed.
And it's gonna be Henny, Ando, Prid, Dub, and Zipman, who got his lap impeded, booted out from Q2, and we head on to Q3 now.
Indeed. What I do find interesting, though, is the vast difference between Taylor Boss and Envy's lap. Just look at that huge gap. A whopping 1,000 is separating the both of them. And this is how close it's going to be for them in Q2. Q3, I think it's going to get even better. But contesting for pole, I think it's really going to be between the top 4. Though Wolford does appear to be the favorite, I think Max could potentially challenge. Sugi and AMS, I think, also have the potential to fight up there. But it's going to be close.
Yeah, I think you're right with that. When you look at those Q2 times, they're not like the top 3 or 4, very close. But down the order, you can look at 10th place's lap compared to Pole's lap, and you can see how far off 10th place is. And I'm no means saying that they're bad. It's just it's interesting to see all the kinds of laps and how qualifying develops, especially with this qualifying system of different sections.
Indeed. Honestly, I would say the most important sector to get right on this track, if I had to be the one to say it, honestly, not Q2, Sector 2, honestly, not too important. I'd say Sector 1 is arguably the most important. Some could argue it to be Sector 3 as well. But I would actually think Sector 1 to be the most important to set a good lap.
Yeah, you're right. Also, Sector 3 is very important. You gotta nail every single one of these corners. Sector 1, like you said, very important to get down, how to get it right. Because a lap can be made or broken in Sector 1.
Indeed, I don't know, that can be made or broken in turn 1 or 2. So now in Q3, we have 10 drivers here. Only one is going to be taking that top spot at the moment. I think the favorite is going to be the quote-unquote hometown hero, Max Verstappen, driving for Alpine, as well as Wolfer coming here. Well, he's not exactly the hometown hero, but I think a lot of people are going to be rooting for him, as he is, of course, the defending champion, as well as Sugi running out here. I think it's going to be between the 3 of them, as well as AMS and the Ferrari. So 4 teams, I think, are going to be fighting for pole. It's going to be interesting to see which one comes out on top. Though I bet the French crowd is happy to see that both Alpine drivers have made it into Q3. Ghostly, I think, can put in a good lap when he manages to put it all together. Granted, he struggles a little bit with consistency, but when he is on it, he is on it. And I have a feeling he's going to be putting it all into this Q3 lap, which he's going to start soon enough. But first we have AMS going on, and he's going around the track right now. He's already finished Sector 1, and is off to a solid start. There are a few other
Yeah, you're
drivers
right
starting
about that.
laps. Actually, Wolfer is going to get ready to get a lap going. We're going to ride on board for this one and take you on a little bit of a guide on this track. Now, going into turn 1, you want to attack this corner as early as you possibly can. Almost hitting the yellow border. Actually, someone already did hit it. Wolfer gets a huge snap of oversteer, though. Oh, and that's unfortunate. His lap is already ruined. Well, in that case, you're going to run up board with Envy, who's now going to start his lap. So, like I said before, you want to attack the corner as soon as possible, essentially hitting the yellow barrier that isn't there anymore, because someone already did hit it. Envy's already going through. He managed to get a good exit out of turn 2. Now, you want to ride the curves as deep as you possibly can through these next few corners. And Envy does just that. And already he is off to a great start. His Sector 1 is already better than AMS's. And it's shaping up to be a strong one. Honestly, I think Envy could potentially contest for pole as well. But at the moment, AMS put in a mega lap of the 130.7. Envy's now going through Sector 2. And once again, very deep, attacking very early and taking up as much curb as he possibly can without exceeding the track limits. Again, keeping that tire just on the white line, so it's technically not exceeding track limits. Envy is pushing the track limits as far as he can, and he's making it pay off very well. At the moment, Max crosses the line, goes to 130.95. I imagine he's going to be wanting to improve, and he certainly can by at least 2 tenths as shown by the previous session. The question I'm wondering is, where is Envy going to put himself as he makes his way around these final couple corners? What's going to be important, though, is getting a good exit of this final one. He gets on the power very well. This is going to shape up to be a very solid lap. As Envy crosses the line, he manages to only go 6th overall. And he must have lost time in the remaining 2 sectors. His first was actually faster than AMS's. He must have had a bit of a struggle in Sector 3. Actually, I bet we could check with Race Director to see where it is.
In the words of Fernando Alonso for Wolfer, karma from hidden spinning and then screwing up his lap. But like you said earlier, a lap can be made or broken in Sector 1, so...
Indeed, and Wolfer, I have a feeling more than his laugh was broken in that moment. I imagine for a mere moment his spirit was broken for having messed up that early on in the lap. But honestly, I can't say I blame him. These cars are much more ruthless in the last game. Where before, the cars were naturally very, how would you describe it, loose? I guess you could say, loosey-goosey, where you can kind of just throw the car around into the corners and get away with it, no problem. Now these cars are just locked in, they're extremely just tight, and you have full and utter control. But when you lose the car, you completely, utterly lose it. And so, you know, where the previous game, it was kind of like a middle ground, a kind of an awkward middle ground, now these cars are just 2 different extreme ends. And so it's very important to make sure that you handle everything properly. Especially if you run a more oversteery setup, of course, because, well, the oversteer is going to cause you to spin much easier. But, as I said before, oversteer setup, it is the faster of the two when it compared to from oversteer to understeer, but it is also more risky. So to put it simply, oversteer is all about risk versus reward. If you think the risk is too great, just run an understeery setup. That's what I run because I know I don't have the skill to do an oversteery setup. Wolfer, I think he most certainly does. I wouldn't be surprised if he was running an oversteery setup, which probably helped cause a spin there.
Wolfer, the only one out on track right now. It looks like he's going to go for a flying lap as he's not set a lap right now, or he's set a lap yet. As Sugi dives into the pits, getting ready for everyone else to come out. Maybe going to catch some slipstream.
And honestly, I don't think so. Now's about that time where everybody comes into the pits because it's halfway through. Everybody loves to set a lap immediately out the gate and right at the end, which leaves the track almost entirely empty, so someone like Wolfer, for example, can go on a track with entirely clean air and no traffic. And honestly, this is a time that I love to go out during qualifying sessions because, again, it's very quiet, clean air, no traffic, no worries. It's just you and the track. It's basically time trial.
Yeah, you're right about that. I also like doing that too. I like going out probably about the right around the 4th minute. Just clean track, no one out there. And then right around when you come back around the track to get your lap started, there's people there. And with the people there, they're all going to get out the way and you can probably catch some slipstream, which is pretty nice.
Indeed, but there is a risk of getting impeded.
Well, then they just have a quality ban. There we
That's
go.
true. There's also that risk of someone retiring on track and then leaving their car in AI mode, and then it completely impedes you, and then you have to brake, and then you can't brake in time, and so your car breaks into their car, and so you're completely destroyed in qualifying. I'm not saying that happened to anyone in particular. Last week at Imola, definitely wasn't me. But yeah, it can happen sometimes.
Yeah, you're right about that. But I'm interested to see what everyone's laps are going to be at the end of qualifying, as well, everyone's gotten their warm-ups in from the previous sessions, so they're probably going to go a little faster.
I mean, Wolfer certainly went fast there. With a 130.7, that is going to allow him to go second, but he can't beat AMS's time. And AMS very well may go unchallenged, as he is remaining in the pits. It's going to be interesting to see how the end of this goes, but Max, I think, is going to be looking forward to challenging AMS's time. But that's going to be a tough time to beat. And he's going to need to improve by 2.5 tenths if he hopes to beat AMS's lap.
Yeah, it's really close in the top 3 there. Obviously, all those guys, 130s, Max barely in the 130s, but still in there. And that's going to be interesting to see who gets pulled here, either Wolfer or AMS. AMS hasn't come out on track, so Wolfer just has to go faster than him. Oh, never mind. AMS is now coming out of the pits. I don't know. I think it's too late, though.
I think you're actually right. Yeah, he's not going to make it in time. I don't know why he chose to do this. He's only going to get in someone's way. There isn't enough time to get around the track unless he completely cuts it. Actually, he's probably going to do that. He's probably going to completely cut the track. Well, let's find out. No, he's not. Okay, he's not cutting the track. I don't know why he came out then. Wolfer actually goes into the pits. He's not going to improve. Max is warming up his tires as much as he can. He wants to make sure these tires are nice and toasty before he gets a lap underway. Gio's already making his way through, as well as the half sketchy bull going on his hot lap, going really deep into the curves on these corners. Doing very well to attack. Question is, how much improvement has he found in Sector 1? He's found 4 tenths already! That is incredible! Meanwhile, Gio, he's actually a little bit down on his time. Slayer has already managed to invalidate his lap. Ghostly is a little bit ahead. Max Verklappen has also invalidated. He won't be able to improve.
Oh. So the next man I'm thinking that's up in line to beat AMS's lap, maybe, is Gio.
Indeed.
Closest one there. Could also put Slayer in there. Oh, nope, no Slayer. Ghostly, he's gonna get his lap. He goes 4th fastest right behind his teammate Max.
At the moment, Alpine is occupying the second row, though I think a driver may be able to challenge. At the moment, Envy, though, he's down on his Sector 1 by nearly 2 tenths. That isn't good for him. because it's a lot of time lost. He's going to have to gain it all in these remaining 2 sectors. How much has he found in Sector 2? He's found a little bit, so this key is going to be Sector 3. Sugi's also on a flying lap. This is going to be a close ending. At the moment, though, Max, he's going to have to settle for 4th. It's Sketchy Bull managed to go 3rd overall with a 130.8, an impressive lap from the Haas driver. Slayer has it validated, so he's going to be done. Now it's just down to Envy and Sugi. The real question is, how much improvement has Envy found in this final sector? Will it be enough to get into the top 5? I think pole position is already off the table for him. As Envy goes to cross the line, he manages to go. He doesn't even improve by much.
Wow.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Where did I think Sugi just went pole.
No, I think he just went. Wait, he did go. What?
Yeah, he went pole. Sugi went pole. From not sitting a lap to going to pole. And the first by 1/10.
Well, talk about
Wow.
that. Look at that smile. Look at the smile that he has on his face for putting that fastest lap. Sugi, I imagine, has a similar smile on his face right now. I did not see this coming. I don't think you saw this coming either. What an incredible lap. The fastest lap of the entire session, and fast enough to get him pole position. What a time from him. Absolutely incredible. And it's kind of weird to see the front row occupied not by a McLaren or Red Bull at all, but a Mercedes and a Ferrari. Still, the 2 of them did an incredible job. Sugi will take pole, AMS to join him on the front row, followed by Wolfer, Sketchy, Max Ghostly, Geoslayer, Envy, and Taylor Boss. That was an absolutely thrilling qualifying. We'll be starting the race soon enough. We'll be looking forward to seeing you all then.